Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Todd Talk, a presentation of Oklahoma Baptist University Athletics. I'm Todd Miller. After a 3-week hiatus for summer break, we're back, and we're talking men's golf on Bison Hill today with head coach Luke Coppedge. And Luke, welcome into our program. What a second season you've had at Bison Hill. I mean, you get one tournament in the spring, and then everything comes to a screeching halt.
Yep. No, it's definitely been a different time in these times, I would say.
Has to be a little disappointing, doesn't it? Because you have such a young roster, and some of those young guys were really starting to come into their own at their first season at the collegiate level. And the best thing for them is tournaments, and they didn't get much play.
No, that's for sure. Definitely being starting 3 of the underclassmen in the top 5 is definitely tournaments help them get their feeling in how the tournament is supposed to go, and even conference is kind of a different play that we didn't get to go to this year as well.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about you. You transcend the Southern Nazarene Oklahoma Baptist rival where you played for the Storm, and now you're the head coach at Oklahoma Baptist. How does that work?
Well, definitely my dad, basically my whole family has graduated from OBU, so I was kind of the black sheep that got kicked over to SMU anyway. But, you know, just having a lot of family that went here, you know, dad, mom, brother, aunt, all graduated from OBU. So had a lot of ties here anyways. So that was a really good deciding factor to come in, just because I already had feeling, knew where everything was at. So it was nice.
So, Luke, are you now accepted back into the family now that you're on Bison Hill?
Yes, definitely now.
Let's talk about you as a player. You played a couple of years at Murray State down in Tishomingo, and then you finished up at Southern Nazarene. You were a regional qualifier one season. As a player, how much of that experience do you take into your actual coaching?
I use it a lot, I would say, just kind of helping the boys be able to understand where I'm coming from, because I'm a little bit close to their age, that it wasn't so long ago that I was kind of doing the same thing, putting the same work into it. So I want to, really tell the kids kind of how it's supposed to, like how much you need to put into it, because it goes by fast. And then with this year, it went by even faster because they got cut off basically a full semester of it. So, the kids, only have 3 years left of their freshmen. So I try and use it just to let them know, like, hey, it's going to go by fast. Put as much effort you want into it, because it's going to be, for them, 4 years goes by fast, and you want to get as much experience as you can out of it.
Bison head men's golf coach Luke Coppedge is our guest here on Todd Talk. Luke, we talked about the fact that you lost tournaments for your young guys, but you didn't have to go through what other coaches did in the spring, and that's to go look at seniors in the eyes and say, I'm sorry, your playing careers at this level may be over. That had to be a silver lining to all this for Bison golf, wasn't it?
Yes, no, knowing the fact that I'm not losing anybody and allowing to talk to them and say, hey, we got one more year for the 2 kids that will be seniors next year, to think, hey, we got 1 year, let's make it the best year you can have. And especially getting to, add to the roster anyways will be exciting, because we get to keep the nucleus that we had and then add a couple guys into it. So that'll be real exciting.
Okay, I want you to talk about your recruiting philosophy for this upcoming cycle, because as you mentioned, you have everybody coming back. You had 7 players, 5 of those, Luke, were underclassmen. What does that leave as far as room is concerned to bring in recruits for this next cycle?
Before all this happened, I basically had everybody signed coming for the next class. So I was adding, I think I added 4 players incoming. So it's definitely been a kind of a difficult thing, but wanting to have the kind of best, I guess, kids to be able to come in and play, or allow the kids that have been here to really kind of help them out. We'll still be really young. We'll have, out of the 11 kids, we'll have 8 be underclassmen. So it'll still be exciting and a learning time for the kids anyways.
When you go out and you sell Oklahoma Baptist men's golf, what are you looking for in a student athlete to bring to Shawnee?
I definitely look at student a lot. I want I think OBU has a great academic program, mostly because I don't know what it is with men's golf. I was in it, but I feel 80% of the golf team goes into the business world, and so they always are in the business department. Our business department is really, really great, so I really love that. So I look for kids that are able to have that high GPA, good test scores, so they can really thrive at the school and become a kind of asset, which I enjoy. I'm not having to worry about, are they doing their homework, are they staying on top of it. I can just go and be like, hey, GPAs are really good. I think I guess you could quote me for it or not, I think we were the highest men's team for GPA in the spring. So I really strive for the kids to be smart kids. They want to work. On the athletic side, I definitely want kids that are hard workers. I would much rather get a student athlete that is going to work hard and want to put in hours instead of being naturally gifted and kind of not really wanting to work for what they really have. So I really look for kids that have a really strong work ethic and a really smart kid. So it's generally kind of what I want to look for.
Head men's golf coach at Oklahoma Baptist, Luke Coppedge, is our guest of this installment of Todd Talk. Luke, how do you go about evaluating players? Do you go out to junior tournaments? Do you go out to high school tournaments, or you do a lot of it online?
I would say a lot of it, honestly, is online. I have a person through that he works for me a little bit. I try and bring in almost one player probably a year from overseas, so I really trust him. And then using that, I've been able to, not just be kind of stuck into surrounding kids for Oklahoma or Texas, but that being said, I have 3 kids from Texas coming in next year. So I don't use any part of the world I want to get as best players I can. If they're from Idaho or if they're from Shawnee, that doesn't bother me. So I'll go, if they're close by, I'll go and watch and kind of evaluate that way. But if not, I will definitely I talk with the kids a lot, just because I feel like getting to know them is going to give me almost more of a kind of mind frame of what they're going to be like, if it's a kid that can really kind of mold into what I'm looking for, just because talking with them, and I can help them with the golf easily, but just wanting to kind of have the right mold for the kids that are coming in.
Have you been in constant contact with your athletes that you have on your roster right now during this pandemic? Have you been saying, and I would think they're young enough, they know they need to get out and play, but have you been saying, hey, you guys need to get in as many tournaments as possible that you can during these times?
Yeah, definitely have been talking with them. We have a big group message that we probably talk every 2 or 3 days about something funny that happened on a golf course, or, hey, I shot a really good score, or this tournament. So just trying to push them to be able to try and get into the amateur tournaments that the states are having. I know Oklahoma amateur was this past weekend. I think we had a couple of kids try and play in it. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't got any details from it. And then I know my kid from Idaho, he's playing in like the Washington amateur and different things. So I try to just explain to them, hey, we want to be ready when the time comes to play and use the summer as much as they can, just because it's warmer and you have a lot more daylight.
Okay, the guy that looks to be the bell cow of your program next year, the face of the program, if you will, is going to be one of 2 guys that will be seniors, Dakota Clark. He won the Great American Conference preview tournament of the fall, shot a final round 71 to do so. That following week, he was named the league's golfer of the week. How good can he be in his final year in Shawnee?
I still think he has a lot of room to grow, even how well he played last year. From when I first got here to next year, he dropped almost 3.5 strokes that 1 year. So I really think that he'll be able to really push and be able to help kind of lead us to, I'm hoping, the first kind of regional berth in the Division II era, just because with the young kids getting older, and even with his senior playing partner, Peyton, I feel like both can really help push and kind of really dive into the wanting to be that first team that be able to get to regionals for OBU in the Division II level.
Do you ask these seniors to be more of a mentor during these times to these younger guys, because you are so young on your roster? Like, hey, check in with these guys. Let's make sure we're taking care of our business and getting ready for hopefully a fall schedule.
Yeah, no, they definitely helped me a lot with mentoring, and kind of, if that's even a lot, it was a lot during the springtime too, just because they were helping me check in with kids about, hey, make sure to stay on top of your grades. I know online classes for some kids are great. Sometimes it's not great for kids. So they really helped me, checking in. I was checking in with them as well, but they were just kind of encouraging them to, hey, keep pushing, have a really good GPA, just because as a student athlete, when you get free time, like they had, normally don't have free time until basically first part of May. And so they had 2 months to actually make sure their studies were on top. So they were really good at helping mentor, or, if they had questions about what professor, and they do a really good job of helping out when it comes to like class schedules. They really help out all the young kids that are kind of in the same major, like, hey, these are great, do this, so they're really helpful on the mentoring side, I would say.
Luke Coppedge, head men's golf coach at Oklahoma Baptist, our guest on this week's edition of Todd Talk. If you've missed any previous episodes, you can visit OBU Athletics on YouTube to find the videos. Luke, let's talk about those 4 freshmen if you can. There were some that really started to make some big strides toward the end of last fall and even your one tournament in the spring. Can you tell us a little bit about those individuals?
Yeah, so Braden Ogle would be a very exciting kind of player coming in. He has all the drive in the world to kind of be the best he can be. He's from Hayden, Idaho, so he is a little bit farther away, but he really wants to be good, and so it's really exciting. He's blossomed, in the fall and coming into the spring of, just still learning how to get into a really good score, but he would have a lot of rounds where he's halfway through and he's, a couple under par, just having to learn how to keep that going, to strive to be better, not trying to hold on to it, which is exciting. They allow him that he has that ability to go. So I'm excited about that. Payne Moses from Arizona. He's a really, really steady golfer. I'm excited to see he's had some really good scores this summer playing in some tournaments, shooting a couple 500, 600 rounds. So I'm excited to see kind of how he gets to come back and be his, steady player, which I'm pretty excited about. And then the one freshman, he actually redshirted. So then I'm going to be able to kind of be excited. He was qualifying basically all fall and spring as probably number 3. And so I'll get to add him into the mix of it, which will be real exciting for me. So that's kind of excited to see what those 3 can do.
Okay, let's think back to the one and only tournament you had in the spring. You finished 6th out of 10 teams at a classic down in Houston, the Houston Classic, hosted by your alma mater, Southern Nazarene. Do you feel like that was going to be the start to catapult this young team into really making the strides you wanted to towards the end of the year in the GAC tournaments, had it been able to take place?
Yes, definitely. We had everybody was almost where they were just starting to really click and really getting into, they had all fall to kind of get into the program and kind of how the training session works. And then into the spring there, everybody was playing some really, really good golf right before they had the news of, hey, we weren't going to play anymore. So, but I was using that because we were really close to being able to be, if we had saved a couple more shots, we could have went up even further into those at that tournament. So I was really hopeful for the spring to kind of see how we were going to do and see kind of what the conference was going to play out to, because I felt like we had a really solid team that, played well at where the conference is going to play at in the Lawton, Oklahoma territory. So I was excited to kind of see what we were going to be able to do there.
I have to ask you, you were preseason picked 8th in the GAC last year. As young as you were and seeing what you saw in small snippets, do you feel like that team could have made strides to get better than that preseason pick? Because the Great American Conference is a very good men's golf league.
Yes, I think we would have for me, I was going to be hoping that just being young and trying to get up, to be able to move up a couple spots, just because I feel like they were going to use that full year to be able to kind of mature. As an 18-year-old coming in, your body's a little bit different than if you're a junior at 21. So I think them being able to mature and get to use, I thought we were going to really be able to strive and kind of push up the standings where we were preseasoned at. So I was excited.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about you to wrap this visit up. We're talking with Luke Coppedge about men's golf at Oklahoma Baptist University. Luke, you've only been a head coach for 2 years, really a year and a half with the pandemic. What have you learned about yourself as a person, as a coach during this time at Oklahoma Baptist, and how difficult for a young coach has this pandemic been on you?
Trying to think. I would say it's definitely been kind of different. A lot of the times when I first came in, you have kids that's been there for 4 years. We had 3 seniors when we first came in, and then being that you're about 4 years older than them, I use it. There's 2 kind of pros and cons about it. I can really get to know the kids and almost help them as a mentor, and can be somewhat considered like a friend, just because I am somewhat close to their age, so I can really help them. If they'll come talk to me about relationship problems or anything, that they're wanting to do. So I really feel like it is beneficial that I can actually be a little bit closer to their age, but then it also has a con of you really have to work hard for them to know it's like, hey, there's still a coach-player relationship, and they all understand that, which is great. But it has been a little difficult. You want to have experience for the kids so they know, but I feel like with the 1.5 years, 2 years that we've been here, the kids are getting better, and I'm really kind of excited to see kind of the push that we can do hopefully this fall, and see kind of back to get a full roster size and having everybody be a little bit older. I know we'll still be really young, but the kids that'll have been here will be 1 year older, and they'll be 1 year mature. So I think it's a good and a bad thing being the little bit closer to their age, but I really enjoy it. I think it's something that I can almost have a little bit of advantage over, just because I still have a lot of energy to be able to wake up at 6 a.m. if we have to do workouts and still be able to do everything for them. So, which is exciting.
All right. You wear many different hats: head coach, husband, father of 2. What have you been doing with yourself during the pandemic? I guess you probably had plenty on your plate despite not coaching golf.
Yeah. We've been in just a lot of meetings, kind of still trying to recruit in a way that where we're talking or emailing, different players for even the upcoming year, and still trying to, you're really still pushing every kid on your roster and incoming kids to, play as much as you can, practice as much as you can, enjoy the time before, school's supposed to start. So I think it's still kind of the same routine, just not kids being here face to face. You're still talking on the phone with everybody, seeing how they're doing, and checking in. So it's somewhat similar, just not face to face for me.
You told me you were a +1 handicap, which means you're too good to play with me. Which there's a lot of people that fall in that category, by the way. Do you get to play much? Has your game fallen off a little bit since you've had a family?
Yeah, I would say, but it's also, you enjoy the time you get. So, it's not I'm not as serious about it as I used to be. So it's probably helped my game, I would say, just because I'm not fretting over, I missed some putt. My life's, run because of it. It's more or less I get to just enjoy the time I'm out there. And especially with my son, he's almost 5, so he wants to come out and play. So we're really getting some good time that he gets to kind of play or practice or just enjoy being outside with him. This is probably more valuable than worrying about what the score is going to be.
Appreciate your time, Luke. Continued success to you and the Bison and the Lynx, and keep up the good work at Shawnee.
Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
Luke Coppedge, the second-year head Bison men's golf coach, is our guest here on this episode of Todd Talk. We'll be back with another episode next week. Again, don't forget, you can catch up with past episodes by visiting YouTube and Oklahoma Baptist University Athletics. See you again next time for another edition of Todd Talk.